Welcome to Canada's Social Changemakers. My name is Justin Douglas, and today I am here with Jimbo. In the House of Jimbo, nonetheless. Absolute social changemaker, a pioneer in the world of drag, and I couldn't be more excited to be able to speak with him today.
I'm so excited you're here, Justin, in the House of Jimbo. Welcome.
Thank you. Just a quick acknowledgement, we're in Victoria, British Columbia, which is part of the unceded territories of the Algonquin-speaking people, also known as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. Thanks for doing this with me, Jimbo.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
So welcome back to Victoria after your escapades all around the world and in Canada. But just to start the interview, I'd like to get my audience to know a little bit more about you, the man behind the character that has become so well known as Jimbo.
Thank you.
You're originally from Ontario.
Yeah. I grew up in London, Ontario, just outside of Toronto, and then moved to Kitchener-Waterloo before moving out here about 13 years ago.
Wow. And what precipitated the move to Victoria?
I fell in love with a touring performer named Hank Pine who was from Victoria, and he said that I was amazing and that I would love the West Coast and the community out here. And so we had a long distance relationship for about 3 years, and then I moved out here to be with him.
Wow. And never looked back.
I look back all the time. Yeah, my family is there, and I have a huge community of friends there, and a lot of support and love there. So, yeah, I go back often, and that was, part of one of the greatest parts of my life was not so much in the London part, but in the Kitchener-Waterloo part. When I was a bit older and had found my community of artists, that really encouraged me to be an artist.
You are an incredible artist, and I say that there's sort of three facets. There's the character we know as Jimbo, but you are also a circus performer,
a clown.
A clown
yeah.
background, but also improv entertainment, as well as a costume designer. That's 4, not 3. So let's break down all of them. How did you get involved in the costume design?
So just being a creative person and a storyteller and a lover of Halloween is my absolute favorite day of the year. Seeing, it was a one day of the year where you see people from your peer group and your friend group to, at that time being a child, looking at your teachers and adults. It's, the day of the year that has a great sense of play, and you really get something revealed about people that, people are wearing their day drag, which is their normal clothes, about how they're wanting to appear in the world. And that's that one day in the year where everyone is given license to sort of reach inside and go, what am I today? And so I think it's really surprising, and you get to really get a sense of people's sense of humor. And so I love Halloween and I love dressing up, and so I was always really intent on having an incredible costume as a kid, and then in high school, and then in working in a nightclub. So yeah, that was sort of where I focused a lot of my costuming, was in Halloween. And then moving here to Victoria, getting into the theater community, I took all of that sort of drive and passion for creation and storytelling, and then moved it into theater, and then started doing costume designing for theater, and then film, and then myself.
And it's beautiful, amazing costumes, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But the circus and the clown, and sort of how did that piece come together?
So the circus, I have never performed in a circus. Okay. I want to perform in a circus. I am a clown, which is, there are clowns in the circus, but the essence of clowning is really about a style of performance which is based sort of in improv and in shared surprise between the performer and the audience. And so you really are trying to be a conduit in that moment for creativity, energy, laughter, or just emotion of any kind. It doesn't necessarily always have to be laughter, but it's really just about not second guessing your personal choices, and it's not about you as a performer. The clown is about an audience. It's about creating a mirror. It's about creating a moment in time that is based in truth and not necessarily in the person. And so I love that. The challenge for me about comedy and performing, or at least what it used to be, was this idea that you have to go away somewhere, you have to write down this incredible idea that you're going to decide when the people laugh, and then you're going to rehearse that over and over and over again, and then perform it, and everyone is going to do what you think they did back when you were thinking of it. And that whole process, I was like, ooh, so then when I found clowning is really about just being present and allowing yourself to be seen, allowing yourself to be the gift for the people. And so I can do that. I can be present in the moment and be crazy and not, judge myself for what I do. And that's the essence of clowning. And
yeah. And it's brilliant. I mean, some of the things that we've seen you do in that area. Did you also have a background in acting and improv and that kind of stuff too? Or was it all really through the clowning that you are able to express this?
Yeah, I did. I was really painfully shy growing up, and really afraid of judgment and of being perceived as gay or perceived as effeminate, because I was growing up in school. Those things were perceived to be bad, and so you wouldn't really necessarily be the most popular, or you would have a really hard time anytime I was perceived as gay. And so I really did try to keep these, to be a little bit more reserved. And once I was out and free, I was able to just be more confident in who I was and what I was doing in the world. And so I started to be able to sing, and I started to be more confident in being in front of a group of people. And it was because of I would do costume design and prop and puppeteering design for a local company, Atomic Vaudeville, and I would always sort of procrastinate in getting the thing done and being at the rehearsal, and all that process I didn't know a lot about. And so in the end, I would end up having to perform or puppeteer the item that I had made for the cabaret. And so I sort of fell into it, and I was really encouraged by Britt Small, the director, to get on stage and to be a performer. And then it was only through clowning that I really truly understood how that felt for me, what I got out of it as a performer.
And it serves you well. I mean, I think you can see that compared to some of the other drag queens who've come up through the ranks. Having a different performance background, I think, really helped you in your own experience.
Oh yeah.
But how did Jimbo come about? Where did the idea of Jimbo come about, and how did she evolve into the being that she has become?
So Jimbo is a childhood nickname. My dad used to call me Jimbo, or Jimbo Lena. He would sing a little song. And then when I moved out here, my partner at the time, Hank Pine, started to call me Jimbo, and slowly everybody in the community started to call me Jimbo. And I would introduce myself as, "Hi, my name is Jimbo," or James, and kind of wasn't really sure, having people know me as James and know me as Jimbo in part of my life. And it was one of those awkward times when you're changing your name, where it's like people don't really know what to call you. And so one person just said, like, "What is it? Are you James or Jimbo? Like, which one?" And I was like, well, I guess I don't like being called James that much. I really like the feeling of being called. It's immediate connection, familiarity. It's a nickname, and it's got a sense of humor, and it's kind of unusual. And so then from that point, I just said, no, I'm Jimbo, and that's how I feel. And so I introduced myself as Jimbo always. And in terms of my drag, I did think, I could have a name all the time, but I really liked the idea of having a base in truth and who I am all the time as Jimbo. In and out of drag, I'm always Jimbo. And in drag, I perform as Jimbo, but I also perform as a character. And so I'm billed as Jimbo, but when you come to the show, it's someone else on stage. It's either I'm Joan Rivers, or the last number I did for Halloween, I was Pumpkin Tits. And, I have a Bethany character, the blow-up doll. So I need to have the freedom of being who I want to be. And so if I was, Tits McGee all the time, I want to be Tits McGee sometimes. And I want to be whoever I think of Maxi Maximum, or, come up, when I put the things on, the costume on, and my makeup and my hair, sometimes I feel like another name, and that's where I want to be, another name. And on the show, they said you can't change your name every time. I wanted it at the bottom where it says the name to change every time to who I was that night.
Oh, interesting.
And they said, you can't do that. That's too confusing to change your name every night. And I was like, but that's how I do my shows. I'm billed as Jimbo, and I changed to who I am on that night. And they said no. So then I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. So then sort of because of that, and also that's just who I am, I'm just Jimbo, that was just a way to go forward. And I thought maybe it might be a detriment to having not, a catchy, girlish, feminine name, but then I just thought, it's just a word, like all words. It's, Jimbo is no more a drag queen name than Sasha or, Trixie. They're all just words. And so, yeah, when we got on the show.
Catchy.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Did you come up through the nightclub experience? Like, we live in Victoria, it's a little bit of a different than the bar scene that you would get in Toronto or Montreal. How did the performance aspect come in?
That was through Atomic Vaudeville and through my own stage here, which we're on. We used to, pre-COVID, we would have small gatherings here where we would put on a show and we would entertain friends and some guests. And so there isn't a lot of places to perform in Victoria. There's certainly a few more now than there were years ago. But I perform mostly in cabaret shows. I performed at the Event Center a lot doing the Marydale Showdown, which is a talent competition. And I didn't perform at Paparazzi, really. I only performed there once for a spring fling pageant. And then the only other time was once there was rumors I was on the show. They were like, oh, let's get Jimbo in here quick. Yeah, so I mostly created my own performance space and created my own events and parties to perform at.
Which is amazing that you are able to even do that, because Victoria, for all the wonderful things about it, it isn't known as sort of like the nightlife kind of city as opposed to Toronto or Montreal or some of the other queens that you ended up having to compete with. And so when we saw the sort of cast be revealed, and then there was this Victoria queen in this bunch, I think the people from Victoria and from the island were like, yes,
oh yeah,
one of us was in there, yay!
Yeah.
So let's switch over a little bit to Drag Race. You auditioned. What was that process like? The casting, getting onto it?
Yeah, it's all veiled in a lot of secrecy and a lot of, you get only the very littlest amount of information that you can get at all times. And it really is a race from the start that when the first call goes out, as soon as you see Rue's message on the screen that Drag Race season whatever or franchise whatever, wherever, it's all the drag queens start going crazy of like, oh my God, I need to try, and you got to get their looks, and you got to get the things, and who's going to film me, and all of these things. And it's a huge process, and it's a really difficult process that is many steps and lots of preparing and lots of thinking, but all in a very condensed amount of time. And so it's very exciting and stressful, and also you can't really talk about it with anyone. And so it's really intense, really exciting, and it's the biggest secret you've got to sit on for until the show airs, which can take up to a year. Which is
so difficult. I would think I would have such a hard time being like, I want to tell people so badly that
I did, yeah, but there's really is a lot of fear in blowing your secret about it, so that I was just lips are sealed.
Nice.
Yeah.
But did like your partner, your kids, was anyone in on the secret at this point? Or?
B. Yeah. Brady, yeah.
Yeah, and that was it.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. And so then you enter this beast known as Drag Race, and I've seen so many people dissect. I've watched the other interviews with like Latrice and Manila and all these people who go really into the drama of what the experience was like.
Right.
But just sort of in general, what did you take away from the experience?
I took away from the experience that I absolutely love being in front of the camera and doing shows. I was, we first met working on a Hallmark set, and I was working at that time in costume design and behind the camera, and I love all forms of storytelling. I love direction, I love music, I love all of the different sides of it, costume design. And so, that was really fulfilling to be in behind the scenes doing design, or, I worked with Jewel as her personal dresser. And so film the industry is very exciting. Sort of, I think no matter what part of the industry you're in, it's really exciting, and you're looking around, there's so many elements, so many roles. And so, when I went on the show, it was my first time. When I working on set behind the scenes, I was always like, I want someone to hold my coat, and I want someone to go get me a snack, and I want to sit in a special chair and have my earbuds on and have a special coat on, and everyone being like, oh, are you warm, and do you need a snack, and let me go here, let me go there. I was like, I want that so bad. And, yeah, right? You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, and so this was my time, and I went, and there's this incredible machine set up to showcase your art, your drag, and to provide you with this platform and a way to connect with people through your art. And so it was just an absolute honor and a dream come true to be there and to just be able to give it and to have so much fun.
And I think you were probably one of the people who sort of succeeded the most out of it. I mean, you came off as a fan favorite. The audience really fell in love with you. What was the experience like working with these other drag queens? Did you know any of them before you got on? What was your interaction with the rest of the cast?
Yeah, I didn't know any of them before I got on. I tend to be in my own little world here. As you can see, it's really a lot of stuff going on. So I'm always...
But super interesting stuff, side note.
But I'm always
you
like...
can see it, everyone, right now. This is the best space ever.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm busy all the time. And I spend a lot of time in creation. I really love being a creator. And so that just means I'm sort of focused on what I'm doing, and I don't really go out a lot, and especially being in Victoria, it's really hard to get here because of the ferry and all of that, so we don't have a lot of, there is our local core drag scene, but in terms of a national scale, I was unfamiliar. And so it was really exciting. I knew, I didn't do any research really about who was going to maybe be there. I didn't do anything like that. I was too focused on what I had to do to get there. So walking in, it was just really exciting that first time where I walk in and I'm like, oh, wow. And, doing that whole thing, I was in complete and utter terror. And just really, I didn't plan what I was going to do. As a clown, you really want to be in the moment, and I didn't want to rehearse something I was going to say 1,000 times, some catchy little poem about do, yeah. It's like, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to walk in and to be there and to go, what do I feel in the minute I step into my dream come true? And that's what I did. And there was a lot more I did that you didn't see, but it was really fun. And then looking over and seeing those girls and seeing all their looks and all the different styles, and they're all vibing, and looking at you with their eyes and being like, yeah, bitch, I'm gonna get you. So I love that. And there was a lot of confusion and people going like, what? Who's this fucking crazy bitch? And so,
where's Victoria? What?
Yeah. And so no one knew who I was either, and it made for really exciting, a lot of curiosity, a lot of, like, who are these people, and who are the people behind the characters and all those things. So it was really exciting.
And I think that really came across. The fact that you were authentic and being yourself came through the camera, and I think that's one of the reasons you were so relatable and so likable.
Thank you.
But not everyone who goes on Drag Race gets like a good edit, a warm edit, a great reception from the fans. You can almost say it's a bit of a gamble, like you're throwing the dice a little bit in terms of how people are going to respond to you. Have you noticed any backlash in terms for yourself or for any of the other cast members from the so-called fandom?
Yeah, I think, you just have to be you have to have a thick skin. And I have the fortune of having a really amazing fan base and a lot of support and very limited negativity. But I also don't spend a lot of time online searching and looking for it as well. So there could be more than I don't even know about, and I don't necessarily care at all. I think all that negativity that comes is kind of a little bit funny. It's more of a reflection of that person than it is about me, or whoever they're talking about. If they're sitting on their computer being like, oh yeah, you look fat and you should kill yourself, they do say that, and that is not because the person is fat and they should kill themselves. It's because that person is a troll, and so you're able to go, what you're saying doesn't matter. You're exposing yourself as a troll, and then you just have to laugh them into a way, and you just go, troll by.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And I think the Canadian version has had such a reception at home, but it also has had pretty big success outside of our Canadian borders. And do you think that because of COVID, people have just been at home? Is it just Drag Race in general? Why do you think it's had so much success internationally?
I think that, yeah, it was COVID was the perfect kind of storm of a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty, then being locked away, a lot of disconnection, and just a heaviness. And when the show premiered and started, it was sort of at the summer sort of upswing. The curve had flattened. There was a little break and a sense of levity. Everyone knew coming into the fall and into Christmas we'd be going into the second wave people have been talking about since the first wave. And so I think we just all collectively were able to not feel quite so imminently threatened enough to enjoy and to escape. And so collectively, I think everyone just was able to collectively escape for that period of time over the summertime, and people went out a little bit more, and it led to obviously some of upticks and things. But I think it all just worked out that, yeah, people were looking for love, we're looking for joy, we're looking for all of those things that Drag Race is about, which is about the human experience. It's about being relating to other people and seeing people who are just so invested in their dream and in their story, and they're open and they're sharing it. And it was, yeah, just a perfect time to enjoy that.
It was also really exciting just as a fan to be able to see other jurisdictions, other areas get so excited about a Canadian production, and it is a credit to all of the cast members for making it such an interesting season, because there was something very heartful about it. Like, it was there was still like the drag and the reading and the gossip and all of those things that you associate with drag, but there was something really honest and heartfelt about it. And I think that's also part of the reason why it had such universal appeal. And seeing the American drag queens get so excited was exciting to watch. You're like, yeah, this is like our homegrown talent, and yes, you should be excited about them because they're great. So I mean, it was a credit to all of you guys. But then you have this experience that is Drag Race, and then that sort of gives you a doorway into these other things, and then it's up to you now to sort of use that to push your career to the next place. And you have been very successful, I would say, so far at doing that. So do you want to talk a little bit about the House of Jimbo, the show, the fundraising campaign, and sort of what all of this is leading up to?
Sure, yeah. So basically coming, this spot here with the stage and all of the vibe and everything is inspirational for people to come over and to be excited and to go like, you live like this? Like, you sleep here somewhere?
And if you can see all the disco balls right now, it would change your life.
Yeah, so it's really, I surround myself with the things that I love. My partner Brady and he has an awesome aesthetic and a love of all things sort of beautiful, sparkly, and fancy. And so we both love collecting, displaying, and curating space, and making a vibe for people and inviting people in. And so that is the essence of the House of Jimbo, is a space that is inspirational and expressive. And so I wanted to share that. And I love drag, and I love clown, and I love performing, and I love being in front of the camera. And so when the show ended, I really thought, oh, okay, well, I can do a version of this on my own. It's not going to be a drag competition, but the idea of creating situations and exploring character and clown through a TV show is really exciting to me, and we have the perfect space here for something like that. And so we're basically going to take the vibe here and then hone it and heighten it to a show set. So a lot of this stuff will be, you know, the living, like actual day-to-day living stuff would be taken out, and it would be a heightened version of what's occurring here. And then you would meet characters and sort of take the drag and the performance aspects of drag, and then remove necessarily the competition aspect of it, and just sort of showcase drag. And I have some incredible connections with my Drag Race sisters and international artists and performers, as well as an incredible local source of performance and an amazing community that we have here. And so really the idea is to workshop ideas, to bring people together and to make funny things happen.
Yeah, I wish you the most success in that as possible. In order to have something local from Victoria have that sort of exposure, I just think would be pretty amazing. But you mentioned competition, and is competition something inherent to your nature? Did you go in there thinking, I want to win this, or is it an everyone succeeds and I just sort of have found myself in this pressure cooker where all of a sudden I'm in a competition mode?
You know, when I set a goal, the goal is the best goal. It's the top of what I'm doing. I'm not like, oh, you know, I kind of want to do this, but if I get here, I'm okay. I'm like, this is my vision. This is what I want. And when I was preparing for the show, I was preparing to win the show. Mm-hmm. And when I was on the show, I was trying to win the show, and I wanted to win it so badly. And
you were so close.
Thank you.
And you should have won. You should have been in the finale. I just, my 2 cents, which obviously is not important, but I honestly thought it was going to come down to you and Rita Baga, and then because you were so progressive, Rita was going to win and you were going to come in second place. And I honestly thought that's like, it was predetermined and that's what was going to happen. And then when you were eliminated, I was in shock. I was screaming at the television. Sorry, continue on.
Yeah, no, me too. That was a combination of a whole bunch of things. But yeah, I would say that I am competitive when that's the parameters, is to compete. But in my natural life, no, I'm not competitive with my friends or my community or people. I'm not like, oh, you know, I need to one-up this, or I need to be that bitch and do this and that. That isn't. It's just, if you say it's a competition, I'm going to try to win.
Nice. Yeah. And then as a drag queen, drag queens have been so instrumental in human rights, in moving the movement forward for LGBT inclusion. Do you see yourself as an advocate, as a change maker? And then I will give you my 2 cents on it afterwards too, because I think you are.
Oh, thank you. I would say, yeah, definitely. Anyone that's going against social norms and against what is perceived to be the norm or the way to go about anything is doing their own little political work. And, you know, that happens on many scales. And so being a out proud gay man that expresses their art through forms of femininity is a statement. And we are so lucky to live in an open community and country where we're safe to kind of do as we please and to be loved and supported for that. And that's not the case in so many places around the world. And so I think that the show and drag and me as a drag performer is a window for many people around the world to look in and go, okay, there's a place where it's okay, and look, that person is safe and okay and loved and confident and supported to be amazing, and that might happen for me too one day. Or, you know, I really want to show and be an example of love, creativity, expression, and so I hope I'm doing that.
I think you are. Yeah. And the conversations that you've been able to create, like just being a drag queen is one thing, a look queen, whatever, but you were able to go in there and be like, hey, we need to have a bigger conversation than what is our preconceived notions of what drag is, what a clown is, all of these different things. And you were able to create conversations that I had not seen happen in other drag franchises. And the way that you interacted also with the judges and sort of some of the conversations that people watching the show then had to have afterwards was pretty amazing. So I think you are a role model, and we're not all perfect. I mean, we all have things we're working on. Yeah. We get angry, and the drama was incredible and untucked, and it made for amazing television. But through it all, there's this heart that comes out in
Yeah.
who you genuinely are as a person, and I think it really, really shows. And so that's why I think you are absolutely a social change maker.
Oh, thank you.
But you're also an incredible entertainer and performer, and you sing and you act, and you've done these music videos. So do you want to talk about a couple of the other projects that you've been involved in?
Sure, yeah. Recently I've worked with Sandy at Studio 549 on the top floor. Fortunately, at the start of the pandemic, when we had to lock down and it was in prep for the show, my upstairs neighbor is an amazing videographer and editor. So we were able to still be within a little bubble because I just live upstairs. And so when we shot the Barbie Girl video, that was shot upstairs in his studio, and we would use this as the green room and prep area, and I had all the props and everything we use in the show. I've been collecting items and props and things for 13 years with the sense that I knew I was collecting them for something. I'm not really sure what I'm collecting this all for. Is it a store? Is it because I like it? Is it, and it turns out, I was actually collecting everything I need to make an amazing show. And so, we had all the props and everything, and I got some costumes made for me, and I made a few of those costumes, and then we were able to make that video, which I thought was a really cool take on the classic video, and I was so proud of it.
Yeah, it was amazing. I've seen 2, I think, music videos that you have done now, as well as some of the, when you'd perform someone else's as your own, whatever that's called, but make it your own music.
Like lip sync?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I
was like, is he talking about lip syncing?
That's what I'm talking about. Jesus, mindfuck. They're great. I've watched all of them on YouTube, and they're all really enjoyable.
Thank
and I love
you.
When you're going down Fizgard or Chinatown with this car, and then like the fake boobs and like.
Oh yeah, with Baby No Money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. He's a rapper from or a hip hop artist from Vancouver, and works with a friend of mine, Shiraz, who's also we've worked together a lot. And so they said, "Oh, would you like to be in this video with Baby No Money?" And I was unfamiliar with him, and I said, "Yeah, sure, that sounds cool to me." And as we were filming, they're like, "You realize it's gonna be seen by like millions of people, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay," but then it really was. I was like, "Oh, actually, cool." This, I taught one of the nail salon owners after. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is Baby No Money." He was like, "What? Baby No Money? Like what?" Like lost his mind. I was like, "Oh, this guy's like
he's legit.
Somebody."
Yeah.
And then we had a lot of fun. He was really, really sweet and really funny, and ended up really liking being in drag, and I thought it was a really cool collaboration.
It was an amazing collaboration. I still have it, and I make my partner watch it all the time.
Oh, good.
On the video. I would be remiss not to mention some of the costumes that are right behind us and around you. I mean, you are a costume designer. It showed on the show. You have an amazing aesthetic.
Thank you.
I know you've talked about it probably a bazillion times.
Oh, I'm happy to,
Yeah, talk a little bit more about some of the pieces, and especially, I've already mentioned, I really, really resonated with the denim look, and so maybe talk about that one a little bit.
Yeah, so all of the looks for the show, I did the concept and various stages of either full creation or partial creation, and working with about, as a costume designer in town, and a costume designer for a film, I've had some really cool connections with opera here and some incredible designers. One of my best friends, Sarah Reynolds, is an amazing designer, and my friend Pauline, who made this dress for me, and my friend Alice, who made my entrance look, or not my entrance look, my promo look. So I collaborated with some really cool people that I knew had some amazing skills, and I went to them with my concepts and my fabrics and my ideas, and I just said, I need to do this, and I need to make this happen quite quickly for, I was saying I was going on a cruise. I was telling people, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this cruise, and so I was really excited to be able to have this cool community to collaborate with, and so I worked with my friend Sarah on this. She's a fashion designer. This was the Celine Dion look, and I wanted to take Celine's iconic Paris look and to make it more draggy, so we exaggerated the shoulders, and we did it in this sequin, and I had a local artist do the appliques in the Swarovski crystals.
Beautiful.
And then this was my not glamorous at all pageant dress
It's an open to interpretation.
which went so sideways. Originally, it wasn't going to have this bow, and this was going to be slid up to here, and it was going to be a bit sexier. And then, just with timing and this storm of decisions and everything, we ended up putting a petticoat and a hoop skirt under it, which it wasn't designed for because of the pleating. You're not supposed to have that, and so that made this area not sit well. And then the hoop skirt wasn't long enough. Turned into a nightmare. But anyways,
I still think it was pretty great. I mean, I'm not a costume designer, but I think it's.
I love all the feather, and there's so much ostrich. It's all like this train is huge, and the feather goes all the way around. So anyways, I loved all the feathers. And then this is my my Tibetan lambskin jacket I made out of rugs from the Chintz Company.
Nice.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I bought all these rugs from over there, and I sewed this together, and I lined it in the pink. And so, yeah, I love just finding fabric, and I did all sketches of all of my looks. I started with sketches. I did, being a costume designer for film on a professional level, I knew how to put my mood boards together, get my swatches, get my samples, get my ideas, get my inspiration, get my drawing. And so I did that for each look. And so I took a very organized, professional approach to putting together what I saw as basically a 10-part art exhibit. I wanted to really take everything I wore on the show, every shoe, every hair, and every look was brand new. Nothing had ever, I had never even put them on, aside from my fitting, but never in a finished look. And everything you just prepare as much as you can, you bring it there, and I want it all to be fresh and new on the spot. And so that was really exciting.
For me, it was too, because I mentioned I've seen every version of Drag Race that exists, Thailand, UK, Canada, everything. And for me, you are up there with the Detoxes and the Violet Chachis and it was really amazing to see every time. I was like, what's Jimbo going to do next? What's the next? But my absolute favorite look, I've said already, is the denim look with this patchwork. Where did that idea even come about?
So I love Lee Bowery, and I loved RuPaul's iconic face kini, that moment with the hair and the sunglasses. I love that look, and I love the idea of being larger than life as a drag queen, and then a drag queen on that stage. A lot of the time I was the tallest, biggest one, and I really love walking out and having an immediate presence. And so I knew the denim on denim on denim. I wanted to have denim on denim on denim. I wanted to be covered in denim, and I wanted to have my costume be denim, and I wanted my balaclava to be all denim. And originally I had drawn it with these big horns that came out the side. It didn't have a red hair, it just had these big horns. And I kind of wanted to reference this style of Japanese denim work where you take denim and you tear it and you rip it and you sew it a lot of times, and it creates this almost kind of like a tapestry that shows a sense of history within the garment. And so denim is such a unique fabric because there are so many different shades and colors of it, and it's readily available, and I love the fraying of the edge, and then knowing that Jenny was an incredible...
shout out to Jenny, a mutual friend of ours. Hey, Jenny, we love you, Jenny. She did such great work for you.
Oh, yeah. So I knew, I have a quilter, a legendary quilter. What can I do? And so I was like, okay, denim, patchwork denim, Lee Bowery jumpsuit. And so she ended up making the jumpsuit for me, and then I ended up sewing the headpiece in my hotel room before the show. As we were just going to go in, I was there just sewing away in my room, trying it on, cutting it, and so made that right before.
That is the amount of work that I think would have to go into sewing every little tiny splotch of fabric together blows my mind. And
crazy,
but it was worth it. I think the payoff for it was incredible. I can think of when Rue was wearing that look season 10 with the lip sync with Monet versus Dusty Ray Bottoms. I know exactly what you're talking about. So yeah, I think you executed it so brilliantly.
Thank you.
Did you have any when the judges sort of came down on you for a couple of the looks, which I didn't necessarily agree with, sort of some of their critiques, how did you respond to because when you put yourself out there and you're like, this is me and this is what I've been able to create, and then you get not necessarily the reaction that you were hoping for.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that? How do you get over that?
I not having been judged a lot, very on the looks, in the community here, I'm pretty much put the look out, do the thing. Everyone's like, yes, or, some people are like, whatever. Some people love it, whatever. But there isn't like 3 people going, oh, do. And so I wasn't, there's not a lot of pageant scene here. There isn't a lot of times where you're displaying your art and being critiqued. And so that was a new thing for me. And I definitely, there was times I could have handled my critiques better. I think I did pretty well, but I think I also, I've had to stand up for myself my whole life, to my father, at school, through my work. I always have to hold my ground, say my point, and to just try to say, like, this is my point of view. And so when we were on set and filming and the critiques would come, I would be a bit spicy back sometimes, because I was like, well, wait a minute, like, this is what I think, this is how I feel. And maybe I sometimes should have just been like, I think I did pretty well sometimes, but there were certain times, especially by the end, I kind of was like trying to keep it together. And then I was like getting more and more sort of intense with, the dream is so close and you want to win and you want to be seen and you want things to go the way you had seen, and then it's not, and it's so intense and you're so tired. And so I did get a bit crazy, a bit snappy, a bit bitchy, but that's also just being a drag queen and being full into the fantasy. If you're in that fantasy, you're in the fantasy. And it's not like, oh, I'm like kind of in the fantasy, so like whatever you think is like, no, I'm in this fantasy right now. So.
Yeah, and it seemed like the backlash was not so much against you, but against the judges for the critiques. And I know you've talked about it publicly before in other interviews, but it did feel like Brooklyn and Jeffrey were, Stacey didn't really ever seem like she was too hard. It felt like she had your best interest, but the other two sometimes did feel like they were coming down pretty hard, and the backlash towards both of them was also pretty intense. Do you want to comment on it at all? Again, I know you have publicly before, but
yeah, well, no, I really love both Brooklyn and Jeffrey so very much, and they really were doing their job, which is to be judgy judges. And no, not everyone's going to agree with everything. I didn't agree with everything they said either. And I could have easily switched around, sat in that chair and had them come down the runway and made jokes and talked about what they were wearing too. But at the end of the day, what it was about was creating an experience in a show, and we were really successful in doing that. And they said other positive things, and it wasn't always quite so harsh, but it was kind of, that's the way a show goes, and they pick and choose, and so it did feel harsh at the time because I wasn't used to being judged. I haven't really gone back and watched the show for a second time. I made it through it as it was going, and then I want to go back and watch again, but I need to go back. I want to give it a bit of time and then go, okay, now let me watch this with a different feeling and set of eyes on it. But I really do love them, and there's no hard feelings between any of us. Brooklyn and I are friends. We chat and we talk and text each other, and Jeffrey and I are friends. We message each other, and I've been on his podcast twice. And I think at the end of the day, it just really created more space for alternative kinds of drag, and that at the end of the day, I really listen to the audience, and I really love the response the audience gave, and that was so fulfilling and so beautiful and magical. And I think that that's going to change the judges' perceptions of drag going forward, and it's going to, they may pause a bit and think a little bit deeper into who is this person and what are they trying to say at this root. And so I hope it does affect the way that the show goes forward, and just drag in general. Maybe there might be a little bit more room for weirdos.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the conversations that you created, and we helped to facilitate this conversation of like, what is appropriate judging? When is it funny? When is it helpful? Is it really trying to bring the person up to their highest potential, or is it bringing the person down? And what is that line? And so I think it gave a lot of pause across reality television in general, because as there's more and more of these things coming up, it's like, how do we get the highest ratings? How do we get these sound bites? How do we get these things to get our publicity out there? And so I think you brought it back to reality a little bit of like, hey, I'm a person behind this character too, and it's important to recognize that, despite all of your incredible successes on the show as well, because you had so many.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to be like, okay, well, wait a second, this is a conversation we need to have as well. But something you just said, I don't want to jump back and forth too much. I've been jumping around a lot, but you said your relationship with your father, and I want to pick up on that because you said you had to stand up to him a lot. Did you have a tumultuous relationship with your father?
Oh, yeah. No, he was very homophobic, very controlling, and very fearful of me or my brother being unsuccessful. And so he associated homosexuality with having a difficult life. And so he said, we have to make a choice and blah, blah, blah. And, the world is set up for straight people and you need to do this. And he was always very hypersexualized and around women. And, every woman that we met at the grocery store who was our waitress, in the gas station, oh, she loved me. Do you see her, Jim? She loved me. Blah, 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 and just like slapping the meat in the grocery store and stuff. It was just like very, just very skewed. And he was also from a really bad upbringing, and he was abused, and he was an orphan, and he was an alcoholic. And so there was all of these parts of his life that made him into an angry, alcoholic, homophobic, controlling, abusive psychopath. And so our life was very difficult, and it was a 25-year emergency, basically. And so I moved out west to be with my partner at the time and to really escape him and to live my life, live my truth, and to be free. And I moved out west and I distanced myself from him, and we were estranged until right before his death. And I went and forgave him at his deathbed, and then we went our ways. Well, wow. He went to heaven, or wherever the hell. You don't go to heaven, you go to wherever the hell you go.
Yeah.
The fire thing, but yeah.
Yeah. And then you have one brother? Do you have any other siblings?
Yeah, I have a beautiful sister named Jennifer. She was the sister I was raised with and was a huge support. Both my parents were alcoholics, and so my sister Jen was kind of like our parent, and so she took care of us. And when they would fight, she would hide us under the bed, and we would eat peanut butter with spoons, and that was like one of my nicest memories as a kid. Although it was terrifying being hidden under a bed and eating peanut butter, it was also kind of comforting. And so she would come and get us, and she would say, come on, under the bed. And so that was really sweet and also sad. But my brother was my younger brother, and he is my younger brother. He's lovely, and we used to do drag growing up as little kids. We would dress up and we would have a lot of fun and make each other laugh and just be silly. And I was reunited with my two sisters that are both from my mom and my dad's prior relationships. We were reunited later, when I was around 18 and 14 for one and 18 for my other sister Samantha, sister Rebecca, sister Samantha. So yeah, I have three sisters and one brother.
Wow. And then when you have that sort of a tumultuous childhood, it does sometimes create escapism, fantasies. And so is there any connection really then between sort of what has become Jimbo and a way to express and find that freedom? Is there a connection with your family there, do you think?
Oh yeah. My sense of self, my sense of security, my sense of personal joy was very tempered by my dad's overbearing control, abuse, and my fear of who I actually was. And then coupled with growing up in London, Ontario, which is a very conservative place, and having, at that time, not a lot of gay people in the media or not a lot of gay role models, It was, yeah, really difficult. And I think I lost my train of thought. I can't remember it.
That's okay. No, because it's just being honest and open about it. I think it also, for anyone who's watching who can relate, because I understand I came from what you would call a broken family as well. I had a lot of support from my mother, but my father's side, not so much. And he's very homophobic as well. And so I can relate, and anyone who's had these, because we think, okay, we're in Canada, we're in this progressive country, it's so open and loving, but it's been a process for a lot of us within the community to get to these places. And the fact that you can talk about it honestly and openly helps other people who are going through those similar experiences. And so thank you for being honest about that and open. And it also relates a little bit to the Railroad NGO that you guys were working with on the show, and these refugees who came from different countries to Canada fleeing persecution for their sexuality. Do you want to talk about your experience with the organization, with your I guess drag daughter now at this point?
Yeah, Eka.
Yeah, would you consider her still your drag daughter after?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, Eka and I we weren't in contact during the show because we weren't really given their information, and their situations are very unique and special. And so I only was able to connect with Eka a few weeks back, actually, and to go like, hey, because with the social media and everything, everyone's messages gets buried. All of my family, all of my friends, everybody, it's just like avalanche of messages. And but everything I do, not everything, but a lot of the things I do, I love to have a social aspect to it. We have a giant rainbow project that we tour as a piece of public art, and it's displayed for free for people, and that is about creating beautiful art that is just a gift, and about showing the world art and ingenuity and love that is accessible and not monetized. And when we started our mask initiative earlier this year, we were making, for every mask made and sold, we donated a mask to a person on the streets. We also donated hundreds of masks to the Navajo Nation in the U.S. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we donated masks to Toronto and a number of other places. And then on the show, having the Rainbow Railroad refugees come and share their stories, it was an incredible way to get away from the competition for a few minutes and to really showcase other people's stories, and to really sort of shift the focus about what we were all doing and why we were all there, to be more in support of our daughters that we've met. And since then, with the House of Jimbo fundraising, we were able to raise about $3,200 to give to the Rainbow Railroad. And going forward, that will always be a part of what we do. There will always be a social aspect. I think anytime you're doing something in the world, you should be thinking about how are you giving back, and how are you affecting change, and how are you affecting hope in other lives. And so we always try to do that. That's
amazing, and it was so inspirational. I mean, it was sort of the luck of the draw that you would get on a season where this would be sort of the group of people that you're working with for a drag makeover. But it was so encouraging to me, who has a background in refugee and immigration law. Working within the system can be so frustrating, and you can see like the difference that it makes in these people's lives, and that $3,200 is literally someone's life. Like, that is their existence.
It's a part of it. Yeah, it's really exciting, and it's such an amazing organization. I had one of the people from Rainbow Railroad here, and it was just really cool to hear that she said it's very volunteer, grassroots. Every dollar that comes in goes directly to a refugee to escape and to survive. And so it's all of the money that we've raised that will go there will go directly to helping someone, and I love that.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Would you go back? Would you do it again?
In a heartbeat. Sign me up.
Ready to go?
Anything. Yeah, I'd be on Fear Factor. I'd be on Big Brother. I just love having new experiences. I love saying yes. I love performing, and I love storytelling. And so I will do anything. I would do plays, musicals, TV, commercials. You know, I would do just about anything. I love working, and I love what comes out of saying yes and of trying new things.
I'm not the first person to mention it, but I really hope that there is an international season or an All-Stars where they bring in a UK girl, a Canadian girl, and a Thai girl, whoever, and have that with some of the American All-Stars, and you would be clearly the shoo-in for...
Oh my God, I wish. You never know. You never know.
They did it on Project Runway. It's possible.
They do it on those things. But the other thing is they love to surprise people.
Yeah.
So if it becomes too much of a thing, it's not going to happen.
Okay, so we'll pretend that we didn't talk about it, but I would love that to happen.
I would love that to happen too, but that's the thing about the reality Drag Race, all the things, they keep you guessing. Anytime everyone goes, oh, this is what's going to happen, that's not what's going to happen.
Right.
So, we have to just say, we don't want Jimbo.
But even a Canadian All-Stars, like, it would be great if the franchise here can be successful enough to have 5, 6, 7 seasons where they can start bringing back some of the well-known Canadian artists and to celebrate ourselves again too. So Jimbo, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your space with us. Jimbo from the House of Jimbo, season 1 of Canada's Drag Race, fan favorite, all-star to be. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being such a social change maker. You are an inspiration to me and to so many others. And you did Victoria fucking proud. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. It was so nice.
Thank you. It's a beautiful space.